Okay, people, really quick, if you like Tokyo Revengers, if you rock with Tokyo Revengers, if you feel like it gets overhated or overshadowed or any of the above, like this video because I'm about to put on for Tokyo Revengers. I'm about to show the love that it deserves, okay?
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
People, when it's all said and done and 2021 is wrapped up and we're all having our conversations in retrospect looking back on 2021, we're definitely going to have Tokyo Revengers in the conversation of not only one of the top-selling manga of the year, but also one of the best series of the year, whether it be anime or manga at that, because Tokyo Revengers absolutely came unexpectedly and slapped up the anime and manga world with absolute greatness. In case you don't know about Tokyo Revengers, first of all, fam, you living on the rock or something? Like, what's wrong with you? How you don't know about Tokyo Revengers by now? Essentially, the main character, Takemichi Hanagaki, was sent through time after being pushed in front of a train to 12 years ago from the moment that he was pushed in front of the train, and ultimately back to middle school, because he's like, I believe, 26 in the story, but he goes back to when he was, 14, I guess you would say. And basically, this was the time before his middle school girlfriend, which was the only girlfriend he ever had, was killed, because throughout time she eventually gets murdered, and he goes back in time over and over again to try and stop this from happening, thanks to being able to leap through time by shaking hands with the girl's younger brother. And throughout his journey, he eventually becomes a delinquent with the Tokyo Majin Gang, aka Toman, meeting all sorts of radically awesome and cool characters such as Mikey, Draken. Like, the cast of characters alone is something that will bring you in and really have you going. For the 24 episodes of the anime, I gotta say, while aesthetically it's not something that's going to knock your socks off per se, but it wasn't that type of story. It isn't that type of story. It's not that type that needs all of that, because essentially it's just a lot of middle schoolers that are throwing hands. Think of like the delinquency that you got in other series such as Yu Yu Hakusho, when Yusuke wasn't going to save the spirit world and stuff like that, and he was just brawling out in the streets. Likewise with a Beelzebub, when it wasn't about Baby Beel and all the demonic stuff, when Olga was just throwing hands out against like Tojo and that's basically the premise of things that go on in Tokyo Revengers, while Takemichi is on his journey to change the future from being absolutely disastrous. And the massive stuff that goes down throughout each episode, one of the things that'll really sell you to Tokyo Revengers is that at the end of every episode, you are left with the most insane cliffhanger that leaves you like, I gotta keep on going, I gotta keep on watching, I gotta keep on reading. It is the master, I would say, of cliffhangers. You really continue with each and every episode and chapter to be like, I can't stop, I can't put it down, which almost creates a damn near addiction and obsession of like, I have to find out what is going on. So in essence, highly recommend it, and it was a phenomenal anime. Could it have been better? Could have been aesthetically more pleasing? Yes, but ultimately what it came and did, especially with telling the story from the manga, it succeeded greatly because the source material is incredible. Now with that being said, segment over, I am moving over to talking a little bit of anime spoilers. That's how we're doing this, baby. Introduction, anime spoilers, then the manga spoilers, and I'll timestamp it all so you guys know, because one of the main things I want to talk about in particular is the cliffhanger that was left at the end of the anime with episode 24, where Takemichi once again believes that I changed enough of the future that it's going to be alright, everything that I did here in the past, and he goes to the future, and this time around he looks like he's in The Sopranos or in The Godfather or something. He's with a slick gelled back hair. This time around he looks like he's in a fancy lifestyle. Toman has really elevated at this particular point. They're looking like the mob. However, things quickly yet again lead to disaster, because Kisaki once again is still doing the damn thing. Hina has still been murdered, and we're left with the insane cliffhanger that Kisaki kills Chifuru and goes next up to kill Takemichi, and we're left at that. And I ain't gonna lie, it was freaking insane, especially with the little bit of breadcrumbs that make you really question what the hell is up with this Kisaki kid. Why, or man at that particular point, why is he crying in one eye and calling him crybaby hero as he's about to shoot him? What's up with that? Why is it that no matter how many times this freaking guy Takemichi goes to the past and goes through all sorts of gang wars and fighting and witnessing people dying? Oh my god, the Baji Bloody Halloween arc was incredible. The anime was insane, especially with Baji's death. I ain't gonna lie, it's definitely a very big problem solver if you just, call all these people's parents and, you know, report them to children's services like, yo fam, your kids are killing each other out in the streets like nothing. But I digress, because that ending was just mind-blowing and hands down made me almost immediately, I had to go from the anime to reading the manga, because I just couldn't believe my eyes. Like, how the hell did we get to this point that Kisaki is murdering freaking Chifuru right in front of our eyes, getting ready to kill Takamichi? Like, what the hell went wrong at that particular point? And that's something that immediately had me questioning, okay, what the hell is it with this Kisaki guy? Like, how the hell is this continuing to happen over and over? Because we know he's one of the main people, or seemingly one of the main people anyway, pulling the strings to make fate once again go in his favor and leading Takamichi to this gruesome death. And I ain't gonna lie, one of the things where I was watching that is, I always wonder, like, basically it seems as though Takamichi, when it's not the 26-year-old Takamichi and it's the original Takamichi, like, how much of an idiot you gotta be, because it's always essentially that version of Takamichi's ignorance that leads everything. Because imagine if Takamichi had the same mindset, or even close to the same moral compass or anything like that he has at 26 as he's growing up. Things wouldn't go, of course, because he would have the smarts to be able to stop things, but it's like he becomes a blithering idiot the moment he time leaps back to the future and lets that Takamichi take over. I wish there would have been even an episode or a couple chapters just showcasing a full-on demonstration. Like, I want to know how freaking of a moron Takamichi really is, because fam, like, how is it that this time leaping version is the only one that can do anything, and every time it's left to the original Takamichi, he just screws everything up? But that finale, fam, that hit different, honestly. You know, averting the bloody Halloween massacre of Baji's death, and well, we didn't really avert shit because Baji died. Kazutora ends up going to prison for the next 10 years, and Mikey looks like he's more screwed up than ever. But that future, that was one hell of a way to end the anime, to say the least, and left me like, oh my god. And now, moving forward, we're going from anime only, and we're diving straight into manga content. You've been warned, I'm gonna start spoiling almost immediately. So 3, 2, 1, I'm spoiling talking about the manga now. Bam! What the hell happened with Kisaki? So again, I read every freaking chapter following, and in case you don't know, in case you want to read the manga and you're kind of unsure where to start, chapter 74 picks up right from where the anime leaves off, of Kisaki with the gun to Takamichi and all that jazz. So if you're trying to jump immediately into the manga, there you go. And I ain't gonna lie, the manga just gets even more crazier from when the anime left off, and a lot of it is due to, again, the piece of crap that is known as Kisaki, who oddly enough kind of looks like a Rich the Kid in anime. Oh, Rich the Kid, you're running from Uzi, mate. So when we, go to that timeline in particular, where yet again everything is all screwed up and Kisaki is shooting, we got future Kazutora coming through and trying to help once again with Takamichi and everything, and Kisaki is pretty much this time able to murder Naoto, which leads Takamichi yet again to jump to the past, and this time he's kind of screwed because he can't return if Naoto is dead. It's just topsy-turvy, and I might be messing this one up. This might actually not be, because I ain't gonna lie, it's a blur. I read all of it in one shot. This might have not been the one time where Naoto dies. It might have been in the next time, because that's one of the things I will say about Tokyo Revengers, is that it was very well set up that whenever the author wanted to, he could end the story at the end of the arc. All he has to do is make it that, oh, Takamichi actually made the future a better place, and end of story. That was something that was a way out, but also I guess it made it that there was a couple of points where I almost felt like maybe he wanted to end the story and then saw, oh, we went from like 2 million in sales in like 5 years to 35 million sales in a year. Like, maybe I should keep this going, especially with the latest arc. And by no means is any of the criticism I have for Tokyo Revengers in a way to try and knock it down from what I'm telling you, that I truly feel like if Tokyo Revengers is not in the conversation, especially for best manga of 2021, people are sleeping, and I think they time leapt back to the time they were a fetus in their mom's womb. Tokyo Revengers has been phenomenal, so definitely you can't, without a shadow of a doubt, miss it from being in your 2021 discussions. But going back, I want to talk about one of the biggest spoilers right now, and that's Kisaki's death. That threw me for an absolute loop. I did not see it coming. Also, him revealing that he wasn't a time leaper, and him being kind of shocked at Takamichi being a time leaper, but him being hit by a bus and that's the way he died, it had me, to this point still, I'm with so many different questions. Like, is he really gone? Is he really out of the story for good? And one of the biggest things is, what the hell was he going to say right there? What was he going to reveal? It even said, what was Kisaki going to reveal, the revelation before he got hit by a bus? What was he going to tell Takamichi? Takemichi? Was it going to be something that, oh, I'm not a time leaper at all. I'm a dimension leaper. I could leap dimensions, or I get reincarnated with the same mindset. Like, what was he going to say right there? That would be interesting. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that's leading into some sort of sequel, that maybe he gets reincarnated and we're going to have to deal with the, Takemichi's going to be in his 30s and 40s dealing with like a 15-year-old delinquent Kisaki that is out to ruin his life because he couldn't get Hina. Because when it's revealed that Kisaki isn't a time leaper, a part of me wasn't surprised, just because narratively speaking, how sure Takemichi was, and when he told Chifuru all the story, which I was so glad that he finally decided to share with somebody, like everything that he's been going through. Like, in my mind, every time there's a Back to the Future type of story, while I always get like, you want to keep time and order and shit like that, but if we're an absolute disaster and catastrophe, sometimes maybe it's better to tell somebody your problem. So when he told him everything, I was like, bet, that actually makes sense. Like, we'll have somebody on our side, it won't be so damn lonely. But then how sure he was that Kisaki had to be a time leaper, it was almost too obvious and too spoken out that it made me start feeling like, no, maybe he's not. But to this point, even though he was killed by a bus like 20 or 30 chapters ago, what is a bus, a truck or something like that, like, I still to this point don't feel like Kisaki is completely out the story. Part of me feels like somehow, some way Kisaki's going to return, because he was the main antagonist throughout all of this, minus Mikey's demons, which that was another crazy thing, and honestly makes me look at Takemichi to a certain degree in a certain light of like, you're kind of an idiot. Like, I get it, he was working with Naoto throughout all of this, and Naoto was giving him guidance because, he was an accomplished cop, and, he was trying to save his sister, and the main objective was really to save his sister. But throughout every time, I feel like Takemichi was also almost naive, or he actually really was naive in a lot of what he was doing, because he couldn't believe that no matter how many times he went back in time and saved this person, Draken didn't die, Emma didn't die. Eventually Emma died. That was so freaking sad. That's the signs of a fantastic villain. Ken Wakui's creation there with this Kisaki character, dude did a phenomenal job with. That was genuinely real, I'm not gonna lie. You're legitimately supposed to hate him. Honestly, he is, to a certain degree, a devil incarnate. Like, the dude is a devil. Also, while we're here, and again, I know I'm all scatterbrained, I don't care, I just want to talk about all the key points that meant something to me or were very impactful in one way or another. Kisaki's main reasoning behind doing all these things, right? And, it's kind of like going back to, and wow, once again, Naruto, like Obito's reasoning behind why he did everything. Rin, it was because you let Rin die, and it was a lot deeper than that. At the time, a lot of people were just naive or purposely just wanting to go along with the trend of, hey, it's shit, whatever, but ultimately, it kind of reminded me and took me back to that point of like, so you're doing all this because, well, not necessarily, it's actually the reverse. It's because a girl liked you, or you thought she liked you, you fell in love with her because she gave you a compliment, and ultimately it led you to wanting to become the biggest gangster so that she'll approve of you over Takemichi. And then every freaking time that she decides, no, I don't want your proposal, I want Takemichi, you murder her. Honestly, I was hoping for something a little bit more grandiose, a little bit more otherworldly, so to speak, for Kisaki's goals, because essentially it's a simple thing, a simple reasoning behind why he's doing all this madness that almost feels a little bit too like, really, fam? You're doing all of this for the power of the P? Like, basically, you're doing this for the power of the P, baby. Like, just being an absolute devil driving by with a bat. You're doing all of these really, really devilish evil things left and right because a girl said that you were smart when you was little. I ain't gonna lie, Kisaki, you're an evil devil, very well written in that regard. But in terms of his motives, fam, what? The drive behind you is, huh? But I guess at the same time, if you're a reject, right, like you see the flashback of Kisaki, he was an absolute reject, a nerd, a loser, a cornball, all of the above. And when you're in that state and some girl compliments you, like, how the girls lately have to really be outspoken and saying, just because I smile at you doesn't mean I like you. He falls in that category of a girl was nice to him, so that must mean that she had something for him. You was bullied, you was picked on, she was a nice girl, she felt bad for you, end of story. That's it. It's not nothing more to it. But he used that to make it his lifelong ambition to control Mikey and ultimately gain the top spot, or try to gain the top spot as the ultimate gangster of Tokyo or of Japan in general. Really, fam? Really? For JJ? But yeah, I really don't, going back to it all with Kisaki, I don't feel like he's out of the story. And if he is, that's a shame, because like everything up until, what was it, the 180s, 190s when he's hit by that truck, it was all surrounding the battle between Takemichi and Kisaki. It was kind of like L and Light, if you think about it, from Death Note. Now that I think about it, wow, that's a close comparison in terms of the mental battle. And again, you got to give Kisaki all the credit in the world. If he's not a time leaper and he doesn't have any other abilities, which you could argue that there's a possibility he has another supernatural ability, considering there's really no logical explanation as to how the hell Takemichi is leaping through time 12 years back and then eventually 10 years back, which we're going to talk about that in a bit. But if it is that he was just like that damn smart and that damn good, that every time Takemichi would foil one of his plans, okay, you screwed this up, I had a 10-year plan set up, I'll go to the next phase, the next move, I'm going to create Valhalla, I'm going to create Mobius, I'm going to create whatever gang I need to create, because ultimately I'm going to get that. You got to give it to him, Dude is more relentless than Naraku from Inuyasha, except he wasn't as like stupidly written as him. Like, the only flaw I would argue about Kisaki is, fam, you doing this all for a girl, which it's commonplace in the real world, I ain't gonna lie. Like, usually problems start over money or women or things like that between men, so I get it, but fam, he is supposed to be the devil, fam, not like a scorned Cupid. And then going back to the other catalyst and the other entity in the series that drove Takemichi, and honestly one of the things that made me feel like Takemichi was an absolute idiot going into the final arc, because he finally got the happy ending. If this was a visual novel, he finally got, the fate route, so to speak, the best route, whatever you want to call it. He got the correct route where everybody's happy, Draken's having a good life, everyone, Pachin, all of them are having a grand old time, Chifuru, Tatsuya, everybody is living their best life minus Mikey. And Takemichi, in my opinion, was selfish for what he did. On your wedding day, fam, you couldn't stop with Mikey. Like, I get it, he was a core element of everything he went through, but Naoto told him best and said it best, like, your whole objective was to stop my sister from dying. Like, that's why you went through all of this, for Hina. And ultimately, along the way, you rubbed elbows with them. And hey, you helped almost all of these people that were on a really bad path, from the twins, Angry and Smiley, all of them, you helped them to live a better life. And you put them in a positive direction. Like, yo, even when Kazutora gets out, even Kazutora is in a better direction. Everybody is in a better direction thanks to you. Mikey's the one that you gotta let this go, fam. That wasn't your objective. Objective completed. Don't mess shit up. And I feel like Takemichi's selfish nature of, I gotta have everybody living their best life, especially Mikey, is what costs greatly. And I'm not even gonna lie, based on one of the latest things that happened, if we move forward and more people that are very central to everything that Takemichi averted their death happen to die, I gotta say that hands down, like, Takemichi an idiot, and he ruined everything in the last quarter, you know what I'm saying, at the last act, so to speak, because Draken, what the hell? Part of me feels like, to a certain degree, Ken Wakui maybe was going to end it all right there with that final arc, right after Tenjiku and everything. I feel like that wedding ceremony and everything, maybe Mikey was supposed to show up at the last minute, and maybe because, again, Tokyo Revengers is one of the highest selling manga out of nowhere with like 35 million sales, probably the studio and probably the people behind Kodansha and all that jazz came and said, can you extend it a little bit longer? We're making a lot of money, fam. Because it felt like it was just a perfect point to end it. Everybody had a happy ending, and all you had to do was say, oh yeah, Mikey had a happy ending, that's it. So when it led into all this stuff of then all of a sudden you find out Draken is, a part of this gang Brahman, and another thing that kind of was a little bit like, what? Because it's been a staple that Takemichi, first of all, he can only go to the past by shaking hands with Naoto, and Naoto had to have a strong conviction to want to save his sister. Likewise with Takemichi. When it goes to the whole thing of him getting shot up by Mikey, which kind of blew my mind, and the way he's able to go back in time is by holding Mikey's hand, and he goes, instead of 12 years, 10 years to the past. It kind of felt like that was never established, and yeah, this is straight up like, in the final act, we gotta add one more year's worth of content because that's gonna make dough. Again, I need to stress that, and I prefaced this video, but I want to say it again, again, this is all criticism coming from a point of somebody that's still saying Tokyo Revengers is one of the best manga of 2021, if not the best. So don't mistake it with me saying that, oh, it's trash or anything like that. These are just opinions, observations, and theories on everything going on with it. But yeah, I feel like how selfish on your wedding day with Hina at that to go looking for Mikey yet again, when Mikey in that video recording said, leave me alone, I'm kind of crazy, fam, I got demons of my own. And I feel like that was also the other antagonist of this entire story, which I feel like maybe the last time where Takamichi went to the future and he met black-haired Mikey, and Mikey had the short black hair and whatnot, and he was still kind of like a bad person and all that jazz. I feel like maybe even then Ken Wakui might have wanted to potentially end the story around there, but it seems as though throughout all the times, no matter how many times he saved X, Y, and Z, Mikey's demons was another big villain. Like, if Kisaki was the main villain in terms of like he was wielding the gun, he was doing all sorts of planning and plotting. Mikey, however, was his demons was what made it that Takamichi couldn't feel fulfilled, because regardless of who was around him, he was still going to get consumed by the darkness. And this last arc recently, I just feel like, yo, how many people are going to die because of Takamichi's selfish decision? Like, there's no going back at this particular point. Seemingly, Draken is going to die, and part of me feels a certain way. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but because Draken had, for the most part, happy ending in the future, that, you know, the perfect future, or the almost perfect future, where he had a bike shop and all that jazz. But then I felt like sad, very, very sad, and like I feel like this shouldn't happen of Draken dying, because again, Takamichi's selfish, wants to go and save Mikey too. But then seeing him saying, Emma, I'm finally with you, that was heartbreaking, and I almost felt, dare I say it, happy for Draken that he could be reunited with the love of his life. I know it sounds crazy, but there was a part of me that felt that as well. So I'm in between regarding that, but everything that happens moving forward, every death that we got that Takamichi throughout the series was able to avert, it's going to be on his hands. It's going to be on his hands because you chose to do this yet again. You should have left Mikey alone. I understand he was a pivotal part of all of this. You wanted to help him, but you got shot up on your wedding day, fam. You left Hina as a widow before you could actually tie the knot, man. But aside from where we're at with the final arc, just in general, Tokyo Revengers is a highly recommended from me. If you need that first kick in the butt to start, go with the anime. 24 episodes, awesome, fantastic. I loved every minute of it. It's one of the few anime that I rarely, if ever, missed a single episode every week. I was a faithful watcher. Like, that's how much I was invested in it. And then the manga, I'll tell you straight up, like, from chapter 74 to 223, the latest chapter, in about 2 days, 2 sittings, I sat there and read. I rarely do that nowadays. Rarely have the time, to be honest with you. Like, I woke up with migraines from reading all freaking night, and I absolutely loved it. It was incredible. And yeah, I don't know where we're going with this, and a part of me is feeling like Takamichi, their blood is on your hands. I'm very curious what you guys think of Tokyo Revengers. At this point, there should only be manga readers here. How do you feel about the manga? How do you feel about Kisaki's death? Do you think Kisaki is truly dead, or we're gonna get some sequel where he was reincarnated when he got hit by a truck? What was he going to tell Takamichi at that particular point at the end where he's all mangled up there? How do you feel about this final arc going in with seemingly Draken dying, this whole Brahman group, and all this shit that's leading into the final bouts of trying to rescue Mikey? Do you think Ken Wakui kind of, his hand was forced, so to speak, to write this final arc, and initially maybe he was going to have Mikey be a part of the wedding and all that jazz? And your overall thoughts of Tokyo Revengers so far, and how you think it's going to end? I feel like at this point it's almost been written to, it has to have a happy ending with, at the very least, Mikey, but then at the same time it's like, it'll be a waste, like, if once again Takamichi did all of this and then Mikey doesn't end up happy. But at the same time also, like, how many people are going to die for Mikey's happiness? And Mikey needs to find happiness within himself. I almost feel like, to a certain degree, maybe Mikey should have died. Like, right there where he shot up Takamichi and all that jazz, maybe he should have dropped him. Takamichi survives, and that's the end of Mikey. That's how I feel like it should have happened. And your overall thoughts and expectations for Tokyo Revengers. Again, highly recommend. It should be in the conversation for best manga of 2021. It really deserves it. It's great. It's great. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and Tokyo Revengers, fam. Read it, watch it, love it. It's incredible.